Hello and welcome to the Meeple Minded. My name is Jason and today we are checking out this. This is Valley Glassworks by Allplay. It is a drafting game for 1 to 5 players aged 8 and up with a playtime of around 25 minutes, where you play as a Glassworks pioneer drafting from the market of river tiles to create your Glassworks collection. To do so, however, it will incur a cost, where you must play a piece strategically from your inventory into the river, allowing you to access the glass pieces in the adjacent spaces as you aim to build up your glasswork collection on your player board and maximize points at the end of the game. The copy we're using today is the deluxe version of the game, but the retail version of the game is exactly the same with some component differences. Let's have a quick look at the game overview and then we will come back and talk about what we like and what we dislike about the components and the gameplay. Okay guys, so here we are set up and actually a few rounds into a game of Valley Glassworks. As you can see, it's now my turn. I've already got a few pieces laid out on my board. So let's just quickly run you through how the game is played. On a player's turn, you will be able to play a tile or a glass piece from your little reserve here. This thing can only ever hold a maximum of 5, and I will explain how you would increase the amount that I've got in here. You actually start with 4, I believe it is. So how I would do this is I get to play one of these pieces into the river, but I can only do it matching the shape. So for example, I've got like a little, I think it's hexagon or something, which matches this one. So if I can do this, I get to place the hexagon there. I then get to take all the tiles on an adjacent tile. Now in this instance, there is only one tile here, which means I would be able to take that tile, take all the pieces on it to place them on my board, and that tile then goes to the back and everything else gets pushed up. In this instance, that's not a particularly useful move for me, so I'm going to play this one instead, which is a triangle. So I place it on the triangle there. Now my choices are increased. I can do that same one here, or I can take this one here, which is going to get me 2 pieces. I'm going to do that. So we'll take those 2. They come over here to be added to my board. This one would then be removed, pushed to the back, moves all of the other tiles forward, and then you draw glass pieces based on the amount of rocks on there. That is 2 rocks, so I grab the bag here, I dip my hand in, I draw 2 random pieces, add them to that tile, ready for the next player. Now before we go to the next player, I need to place these pieces on my board. Now as you can see, I'm a little way into this. I'm going to be scoring points at the end of the game for how many of these lines I complete horizontally. So for each line I complete, I'm going to get 22 points, or it varies on how far you get as a solid line. So right now that second line is worth nothing because there's a gap. It will be worth literally 1 point for that one single thing. If I can fill that spot there, I'm going to get 7 points, but if I can get it all the way to the end again, it's 22 points. In this instance, I have a blue, which means it has to go above the blue that I've already got. I'm adding towards that vertical scoring. This is a brand new color, which means it has to go just there. So as I said, at the end of the game, I am going to be scoring points based on the horizontal line here, but I will also be scoring the top 2 vertical lines. Now, depending on which of these lines goes the highest on vertical will depend on how many points I get. For example, this first one here, if I get all the way to the top, it's only going to net me 5 points, whereas this very end one, if I get that to the top, it's going to get me 35 points. The reason that it's so much higher is because you can't just pick and choose where you want to put stuff. You have to start from the left, which means to get that 35, you have to do at least 1 full horizontal line and then be able to go all the way up with the same color. Now, the colors in the game do have a rarity, which is obviously explained just here on the board. So really, the best course of action would be to get all the common colors right at the end here and get them as vertical as quickly as possible. But getting to the end of that board with just rare colors is going to be tough. So there's a little bit of strategic play involved there. at some point in the game, you could end up with 0 amounts of these tiles on your supply here. And the only way to really refill this is down here in the lake, when at any point you can spend an action to take 4 of the pieces from the lake. It has to be 4, it cannot be less, and they have to be added onto your tile. If at any point you go over 5 tiles on here, you have to put the excess ones into this space on your board, which is -3 points per piece at the end of the game. So you want to try and avoid that at all costs. You do get to pick which 4 of the 5 that are there, but once you've taken the 4, once again, dip your hand into the bag, draw out 4 new tiles, place them in place there, and then that will be the end of your turn. That is as simple as a turn is. As I said, the end of the game is also very simple. Once a player gets to 17 of these tiles, so this is the other thing, you will be tracking how many tiles you've got. So right now, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I would mark 10 on my board. In the deluxe version, that would be one of these here meeples. I will get out my frog, which would then go to the 10th spot there. When I hit number 17 down here, that would trigger the end of the game. Once players have finished up at the end of the game, you tally up your points, and the player with the most points wins the game. That is how you play the game. Let's go back to the top camera to talk about components. So guys, that is the game overview of the game. Let's have a quick look now at the components of the game. Now, as I said, we have the deluxe version of the game here, and the game components in this are just that, to be honest. They're very, very deluxe. Obviously, key parts of this to note that are deluxe pieces are, of course, these acrylic tiles. These are not included in the retail version. The retail version, it is a printed punch board that you would be moving things about. You also get the dual layer board in this, as well as these sort of dual layer tile holders for your things, and of course the neoprene mat. This is probably one of my favorite bits of this deluxe copy of the game. You've got a few extra bits in the deluxe copy. Now, these are one of them. This is how you would track how many pieces you have within the game, whereas in the retail version, it's on the side of the board, and you get like a smaller version of these that slots in to indicate just how many pieces you have in the game. So this is a nice little touch. It doesn't make any real difference to the game, really, to have those. Much the same as these wooden meeples. These are literally just markers that go into those little boards. They make no difference to the game. They're just a visual and, I guess, a more deluxe feeling component. So they're pretty cool. The key thing that I want to talk about here, of course, is the glass pieces that come in this nice bag here. And this is also in the retail version, guys, this bag. So it's a very nice bag. These pieces here are acrylic, okay? They've got a nice feel to them. They've got a nice sound to them in the bag as well. The only version that actually comes with real glass pieces is the Founders Kickstarter exclusive, and that is considerably more expensive, and you also can't get it in shops. So there you go. They don't need to be glass, right? The acrylic ones are perfectly serviceable. They're very, very good quality. I'm very happy with these. The selection and shapes of the pieces here and the colors are very, very good, because it is incredibly difficult to misjudge what pieces are what colors are what at a quick glance. So that's always good. You know, you quite often will get games that will include 2 different shades of purple. It's like, well, no, we need very clear colors in a game like this, and the shapes as well. They're not just your usual square, circle, and all that kind of stuff. These are meant to represent like stones, for example. So the heart-shaped stone, for example, is very clearly a heart, but it's not that perfect heart shape that we're all used to seeing when it comes to it. It is slightly sort of lopsided, if you like, because stones aren't perfect. that's really, really good. I'm very, very happy with that. Excellent choices made within the game. And as I said, these are in the retail version too, so that's great. Okay, guys, let's talk about the gameplay and what we do and don't like about the game. The things we like about this game is the ease of teach and play, the fabulously short playtime, and overall fun of the gameplay and theme. True enough, the theme is somewhat abstract, I guess, because you are playing animals making these collections. But what works very well for gameplay it is the theme, right? It doesn't need to be a particularly realistic theme. The game provides a nice level of strategy where more experienced players can attempt to math out the most optimal path to victory, while the less strategic amongst us can somewhat bumble through taking pieces that look pretty and still have a fighting chance of not getting totally whitewashed at the end of the game. A nice level of luck is also incorporated into the game in the blind drawing of the bag. Now, yeah, these shapes are their shapes, right? You can sort of somewhat feel what shapes you're going to be pulling out. Should you want to go down that sort of negative, way of playing, I guess. But at the same time, because you're also needing to get certain colors, that really does make that negative practice a risk, because you don't know what colors you're going to pull out, right? Yeah, you might know the shape, but you won't necessarily know the color really that you desire. You just won't. So really, that's where your luck element comes in, is that blind draw, and that's a nice little addition because it's not totally luck based. For me personally, the biggest pro has to come from the set collection and pattern building that you do on your player boards, obviously. And, it's nice because this is how you maximize your points in the game, right? You have to try and create the vertical and horizontal rows and columns of colors and shapes and all that kind of stuff, but starting from the left. So you are basically encouraged to try and at least complete that bottom horizontal line, because if you don't have access to these really high points on the vertical scales. Yeah, sure enough, you can use all those common colors to vertically accelerate at a very quick pace. But if you do that on these first two, you're only going to be scoring 5 and 10 points. Whereas if you somehow manage to get all the way to the end and then go vertical, you're going to be scoring 30 and 35. That's a huge difference in this game. But also, the verticality is not the only way to win the game. You will gain a decent amount of points by going horizontal and completing as many of those as possible. So there's multiple paths to victory within the game, and I really, really like that. I would say, for me, though, the best chances I've had when I've been playing the game is, of course, completing those horizontal lines, but then going vertical around the middle. Yes, I'm not scoring as many points. If I get to the top on the 2 middle tracks, for example, I'm going to get 15 and 20 points. It's nowhere near as good as 30, 35, but it'll be a darn sight easier to start getting those common colours earlier on. And it's nice that they give you that sort of bit on the board here to tell you the less common colours. So that's really, really cool. I like that. The final thing I want to talk about really with regards to the gameplay is, of course, the glass pieces that you will find in the base of the river here. Now, I really like that because when you've got this, you can hold up to 5 in your little personal inventory here to spend on the river itself. And I like the fact that you can refresh this by taking 4 tiles or 4 glass pieces from that river. But that's the thing. It has to be 4. It's not up to 4. It's very specific. It has to be 4, which means you can't just keep doing it. And that's really good because you're obviously going to be taking those minus points if you do it too often and you overfill this. And minus points are quite harsh within the game, but I also find that they're quite easy to avoid. So that's a positive as well. So yeah, I really like this mechanism of having that sort of extra pull there that you can choose to pull from as and when you need to. I personally will get down to like one tile, and if there's nothing on the river that I particularly want that I can get with that one glass piece, that's when I'm going to be pulling from the middle there. I wouldn't do it if it's going to cost me negative points. That's just a personal thing, but you never know. Some people out there might see a way of scoring a lot of points with those pieces. So there you go. There's a nice bit of strategy involved there as well. So gameplay overall is a positive. I found it very hard to come up with any kind of negative here in this very quick and fun filler game. Okay guys, so in summary, this game was a fun, quick, not too mentally taxing filler game that has a great table presence. The base game sits nicely in that category of lightweight game that could cater for a wide range of players, from a welcoming game to an experienced player's game looking for that more lightweight filler as they transition from heavyweight game to heavyweight game or whatever it be. The table presence I talk about is a nice appearance, right? Even the retail version with the board I think is quite nice and vibrant. It's got some good colours to it. But I really do feel like the neoprene mat and clear river tiles are a nice fit. But I will be honest, in my opinion, even as a fan of neoprene mats, I don't feel like they are necessary for this game. They're just a nice luxury to have, right? I would say overall the deluxe version is worth it because you get some very nice quality of life upgrades within the game. So I personally would prefer to have the deluxe version. However, if you're just interested in the gameplay side of things, the retail version is more than enough. To give you a rough idea of what the retail version has, obviously anything that is dual layer within this game will be single layer, so you won't have those nice indented pieces there. You don't get any of the little screen printed meeples. You don't get the acrylic tiles. These are just punchboard with the artwork on it. You know, obviously do not get the neoprene mat. You just get a couple of cardboard pieces to replace it. These pieces aren't in the game at all. This is your tile tracker. That's just on the side of your player board that is tracked by another one of these, but much smaller, I think it is. So it'll be sat on the side. You know, it's just a few quality of life pieces less than what you get within the game. But other than that, you still get the same really nice pieces that draw people to the table. You still get the really nice bag. You know, you just get a single layer version of this. You know, there's very, very few things that the retail version doesn't have compared to this. This is just as it says on the box, a deluxeified version. So guys, that is about all the time I have for today. But before I go, I want to know your opinions on this game. Have you played it? Did you pre-order the game? If so, what is it that draws you to the game? Let us know in that lovely comments section down below. If you have enjoyed the video, guess what? There's a specific button for that. And also, do not forget to subscribe for more tabletop gaming content. And until next time, I have been Jason, you have been watching The Meeple Minded, and I will see you on the next one.